Hi everybody. I recently just moved into a new house. When I moved into the new house, I bought a new 72-inch Harbor Freight Toolbox. And the reason for that is I had a little bit additional room in this house than I had in the other house. As you can see here, this house has a door here that goes into the unfinished part of the garage. So they cut the garage in half and made a finished part. So it's really neat. I get to put all my tools and I could work on some lighter projects in here that aren't that messy, and I could do the messier projects out in the unfinished garage. But the tools will be in a climate controlled environment, which is awesome. But the inspiration for the video today is to really take you through what it looked like getting this off the pallet. My buddy couldn't meet me over here until Saturday, and this thing got delivered on a Tuesday, and there was no way I was leaving this in the crate. And I think most of you guys that are watching this video wouldn't leave it in a crate either for a whole week by itself, until you got somebody to help you unload it. So I took it upon myself to take it out of the crate myself, and it took about an hour, but it wasn't as difficult as you would think. I'm going to try to recreate it the best I can. I saved some of the crate and some of the packing materials. So here's the tools you'll need to complete the job by yourself. The key piece to all of this was using the reciprocating Sawzall. I just have a DeWalt one, but what I did was I put in it a 9-inch bimetal blade, and that was important to cut the tacks that hold the crating together, that are holding the cribbing, as well as cutting the cribbing and some pieces of the pallet, which I'll show in a minute here. Like I said, I saved some of the old packaging. The other thing you need is the safety glasses while you're using it, because it's that cheap pressboard wood that puts the pallet together, and that stuff gets all over. Then you're going to need a little bit of a floor jack. The floor jack is very important in this, to be able to crank up the toolbox. I put the floor jack in between the pallet and the bottom of the toolbox. I put a little 2x4 on top of it, the jack, so it put good equal pressure on the toolbox while I lifted it, and that's how I was able to get the cribbing out. And then I used just a little bit of a dead blow at times to bang a little bit with the cribbing, but not too much. Okay, so this is the part where I was able to do it by myself. I tried to recreate the pallet the best I could. I did cut it up out in the unfinished part of my garage, and it was pretty dusty and it made a pretty big mess. I did save a handful of the components here so you can see how it was cribbed, and I can show you roughly how I did it. So as you can see, the toolbox sat up on this cribbing, which actually elevated it from the pallet. So what I did was that you're able, with a small jack, you're able to slide it in between the between the pallet and the toolbox. I used a little 2x4 on it to balance the load, cranked it up, and lifted it. But before I did that, what I did was I cut all the cribbing. So I experimented with it, and I did it a few different ways. One way was I just took my saw, which I told you I used a 9-inch blade on my Sawzall, and zipped it here. And there's several nails that come up into this, so you got to make sure you really cut them. Well, I used a nice fresh blade. It took a little bit of work, but I was able to zip through it. And I did that on all of them. There's some in the front, which you can't see here because I cut all that wood out. I saved some on this side, which I can maybe show you a little bit later at a closer depth on, but I did cut all of this out to make it work. So what I did on this one, and I probably recommend this, is I cut it in the middle first, and then I cut it off of here. And what the benefit of that is you don't have to jack it so high. So the goal, what I did was, after I cut everything, was I put the jack here, jacked it up, and tried to get the middle one out. And what you do is, when you get it to a certain height, is you can cut it and then get this out from underneath. You gotta kind of bang it, and then you gotta fish it out from under there. So it was easier since I cut it that way. I wish I would have did all of them that way. It would have made it a lot easier. This one I just cut the bottom, eventually worked it over, and was able to fish it out. But what happened was, after I did that, I couldn't get the jack out on the last one. So that's why I had to cut this piece out over here. This went like this. And when I did that, I was able to finagle the jack out through that piece and fish it through. Then I had it, you can lower it down to the floor. So the wheels are actually at that point touching the ground. All the cribbing is removed. But the problem is, this is in there all the way. So you're locked because you can't get this out. So what I did was I cut here and I cut this side out completely. And the way I did that was just took the Sawzall, just kept cutting it from both sides, took all the wood out. And then what you can do is you just gently, you're able to wiggle it out from underneath the toolbox. And you wiggle the toolbox out from under it. It is a lot of jockeying. I had to adjust, you know, I jacked it here, cut, moved it here, cut. Had to move the jack probably 3 times throughout it because you're pulling out a piece of cribbing, removing the jack, pulling out a piece of cribbing, moving the jack. You do have to have a really small jack though. If it's any bigger than this, it will not work. This jack is, it's 5 inches from the bottom to the clearance. So if it's any more than 5 inches, you won't be able to use this method. It took me probably, like I said, an hour to an hour and a half max. It wasn't the easiest, but it was probably the best way to do it. And honestly, even if I had help with somebody else, I don't know if I would have did it any different because this thing is super heavy. It's hundreds of pounds. I think it's 450 pounds or 600 pounds with the delivery. I probably still, it probably was a blessing in disguise that my buddy wasn't able to make it that day, and I used this technique instead. It didn't hurt my back at all, and it was just a little bit of sweat. So hope this helps somebody that gets one of these delivered. I'm going to make future videos where I go through this toolbox, I go through the different things, and I'll walk you through some of the drawers as I get it set up, let you know what I think of the quality, and so forth. So thanks for watching. Hope this helps you. Have a great day. So let me know if this video was helpful. Like I said, I couldn't find anything on YouTube that I thought was very helpful with getting a toolbox off the pallet with somebody or without somebody, especially without having a forklift and so forth. And then finally, please let me know if you'd like to see more. As you can see here, I got my top drawer open with this drawer next to it, little tease. And if you'd like to see more of a toolbox tour or want to see a review about the toolbox itself, let me know in the comments. Please click like, subscribe if you want to see more videos. And I apologize, there was a lot of zooming in and out. My 12-year-old nephew was helping me with the video. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.